You might be paying more than the person right next door and never know it.
Instacart often jacks up the price over what's in store, and they don't necessarily make it clear that they are doing that.
On a controversial way of pricing groceries happening at Instacart.
You just mentioned that you also use the so-called dynamic pricing.
Growing concerns that when shoppers enter these stores, AI could lead to groceries being even more expensive.
Americans don't realize they're guinea pigs in these experiments.
Two shoppers used the same grocery platform. They chose the same store. They checked the same products during the same shopping window. But they did not always see the same price. A documented investigation of Instacart item price tests found several prices for identical goods. Yet, it did not show that the platform knew who was willing to pay more. Instacart said shoppers were randomly placed into price groups. So why show different prices if the system was not personally targeting them? To answer that, we need to know three things. First, how the price groups were built. Second, what the platform learned from each response. And third, what changes when personal data enters the same system. Across the selected test baskets, the average gap between the lowest and highest totals was about 7%. On one tested product, the highest displayed price was 23% above the lowest. Those numbers did not come from one viral screenshot. The project recruited 437 people to collect prices. After the submissions were cleaned, the main analysis used 193. Most of the evidence came from prices shown in online carts, not completed purchases. So this was not a national measure of what every grocery shopper actually paid. But the researchers could compare selected products from the same stores during the same test windows, and the prices kept appearing in the same few groups. The difference was real. The cause still needed to be separated from the fear around it. Instacart described the tests as short experiments designed to learn how shoppers responded to different prices. The company said the groups were random within selected product categories and locations. That distinction matters. A random test is not the same as a personal price. But random does not mean pointless. Imagine three groups seeing the same product. One group sees $4.29. Another sees $4.59. A third sees $4.79. Once those prices appear, the real test begins. The system compares what each group does. How many people buy? How many leave the item behind? Does the higher price earn more overall, even if fewer people accept it? Or does the lower price sell enough extra units to work better? The shopper sees one number. The platform sees every outcome. That is why the groups exist. They turn a price into a question. During the investigation, Target said it had nothing to do with those prices. Then Instacart admitted it was adding its own markup to some Target items. That conflict exposed another hidden layer. The store on the screen is not always the only actor setting the number. A retailer may set one price. A platform may control another markup. A pricing system may then test another price or promotion on top of that. By the time the shopper sees the total, several decisions may sit behind one simple number, and the shopper usually cannot see which decision changed it.
Now to your money, and more supermarkets are using digital ads, meaning the price you pay can change several times per day.
To see how those hidden decisions become a price test, we need to look at the system behind them. Documents tied to Eversight, the pricing company Instacart acquired, describe systems built to test prices and promotions. They describe collecting transaction results. They also describe estimating how buying changes when a price moves. That shows how a price testing system can work. It does not prove that every feature was used in every Instacart experiment, but it does explain why randomized groups are useful. The process works in a few simple steps. First, the system creates several price options. Then it places shoppers, products, stores, or locations into different groups. After that, it measures how each group responds. A purchase is one answer, leaving the item behind is another. The system compares these answers across the groups. From that pattern, it can estimate how much buying changes when the price changes. Pricing teams call this elasticity. That may sound technical, but the basic idea is simple. Raise the price a little, then see how many buyers disappear. Lower it, then see whether enough buyers return.
If you ordered the same 12 eggs from the same grocery store in Washington, D.C., there was 5 different prices that would come up for the group that tested this. And so ranging from $3.99 to $4.79.
The result is not perfect knowledge of one's maximum price. It is an estimate of what a group or market may tolerate. That estimate can guide the next price, the next promotion, or the next test. So the feedback loop is straightforward. The company creates several price options. Shoppers are assigned to different versions. Their choices create data. The system compares the results. Then the company can keep, change, or expand the price that best serves its objective. That objective might be more revenue. It might be a higher margin. It might be faster inventory movement. Or it might be a stronger promotion. The system does not guarantee that every price will rise. It gives the company better information about what happens when prices change. And that creates a major information gap. The shopper sees only one price. The platform sees how every group responded. And that wider view is the real advantage. But that information advantage does not mean every price test harms shoppers. Some test groups received lower prices. Dynamic pricing can help clear inventory. It can support discounts when demand is weak. It can reduce waste or improve availability. The investigation also had real limits. Its main analysis used 193 clean submissions from 437 recruited participants. That sample was not designed to represent every American shopper. Most prices were captured in carts rather than confirmed as final purchases. And Instacart said it ended item price testing in December 2025. Those limits rule out the most dramatic conclusions. The evidence does not show that every shopper paid more. It does not establish a fixed annual loss for the average family. And it does not prove that Instacart used personal information to choose the price groups. But the narrower finding still matters. Because even without personal targeting, the test changed what each side could see. Different shoppers could see different prices at the same time without being told that a test existed. Each shopper saw only one price. The platform could compare the response to all of them. That makes prices harder for shoppers to judge. A public price gives everyone the same point of comparison. A hidden test takes part of that comparison away. The shoppers cannot know whether the price is the normal price. They cannot know whether another group received a lower one. They may not know whether a discount is unusually good or only looks good beside a different unseen price. And once they buy or walk away, the platform learns from that decision. That is the key distinction. The shopper's group may be chosen at random, but the system is deliberately studying what happens next. The assignment may be random, the learning is not. That is why the story does not end when personal targeting fails to appear. Random testing can work before the system knows who you are. The next layer begins when it starts using information about you. A separate Federal Trade Commission study examined companies that help businesses set prices and offers. The FTC described systems capable of using location, browsing behavior, purchase history, and other consumer information. That is where several terms that are often mixed together need to be separated. Dynamic pricing changes a price because market conditions changed. A rideshare price may ride when demand suddenly exceeds the number of available drivers. That price is dynamic. It is not automatically personal. A price experiment works differently. It shows different price options so a company can learn which one works better. The assignment may be random, grouped, or based on a place or product category. But that still leaves a separate question. What changes when the system starts using information about the shopper? Personalized pricing adds information about a person or an identifiable profile. The price or offer may then depend on what the system believes about that shopper. These systems can overlap, but one does not prove the others. That distinction matters because the same digital system can be used in very different ways. A digital price can change without being personalized. A test can compare groups without using personal data. And a platform can possess personalization tools without using them for every customer or every product. The FTC material shows that the capability exists. It does not show how often ordinary grocery shoppers receive an individualized price. The public FTC report did not name every client using each tool. Some examples were hypothetical. So the evidence supports the capability. It does not support the claim that personalized grocery pricing is already everywhere. What the evidence does show is how the system could develop over time. A system can begin by learning from groups. Then, in some systems, personal data can become another input. Once that happens, the rule deciding who sees each price can become more precise. The system is no longer only asking which price works across a market. It may begin asking which price or offer works for a particular kind of shopper. That possibility is real.
Talking about surveillance pricing, where companies use their AI technology in combination with facial recognition, changing prices based on data they've collected about you, the shopper.
But how widely it is happening remains unclear. And that distinction matters when we look at the electronic price labels now appearing in stores. They make prices much easier to update, but they do not, by themselves, prove that shoppers are being personally targeted. A paper shelf tag has to be printed, carried into the aisle, and replaced by hand. An electronic shelf label can receive an approved update from a central system. That makes price changes faster and cheaper to execute. It also makes the technology easy to misunderstand. The label is the visible object. The pricing rule is the invisible part. An electronic label proves that a store can update a displayed price quickly. It does not prove why the price changed. It does not prove the store is using surge pricing. And it does not prove the store identified the shopper standing in front of it.
Days of the binders and the clipping coupons every Sunday morning, those are bygones.
That's because extreme couponing has gone digital, and not just on an app.
In March 2026, Walmart said roughly 2,300 of its U.S. stores were using digital shelf labels. It said the labels do not collect shopper information. It said every shopper in a store sees the same price. And it said approved changes are usually made outside shopping hours. Those are Walmart's descriptions of its own system. They are not an independent audit of every store. But the reviewed evidence does not support the viral claim that a shelf label reads a face, detects income, checks a bank account, or raises a price when someone approaches. The infrastructure still matters. A retailer that can update thousands of labels electronically has more speed and control than one replacing paper tags by hand. And that extra speed can be used in several ways. It can handle routine price changes. It can support promotions and markdowns. And if a retailer chose to build that kind of system, it could also make frequent price testing easier.
It speeds a lot of things up for us, makes it a lot more efficient.
It used to take hours for employees to replace the old paper tags. Now, the price on the tag updates in minutes.
Instead of us spending hours changing the prices, we can spend hours helping the customers in other areas of the store, whether it's stocking the shelves.
But capability is not proof of current use. A fast display is not the same thing as a personalized price. The decisive question is not whether the tag is digital. It is what data and rules sit behind the number. That is the line regulators are now trying to define. New York demanded information from Instacart about its pricing tests and disclosures. California opened a wider inquiry into how businesses use consumer data, experiments, and individualized pricing. And in July 2026, New Jersey enacted restrictions on personal data-based grocery shopping. These actions do not prove that every company broke the law.
Now, some states are already starting to respond to concerns about algorithmic pricing. New York now requires any algorithm-set price to carry a clear disclaimer. Places like California, Colorado, and Pennsylvania are considering bills that would ban surveillance pricing altogether for certain types of retailers.
Instead, they show the questions authorities are now trying to answer. What data entered the pricing system? Who controlled the price the shopper saw? How was that shopper placed into a group? Was the test disclosed? And was the price based on demand, location, a random test group, or information about the shopper? Those questions reach beyond one discontinued Instacart experiment. They define the boundary between several different pricing systems that are often described as one thing. So when two shoppers see different prices, is the algorithm targeting them or testing what the market will tolerate? In the strongest verified grocery case, the evidence supports a hidden price test. Instacart said the groups were random. The investigation did not establish personal targeting, and the company later ended the item price tests. But random does not mean meaningless. The system could still compare how groups responded. It could learn which prices shoppers accepted, and each shopper could see only the single option placed in front of them. That leads to the next concern. What happens when the system starts using information about the shopper? That is where personalized pricing begins. The capability exists, but how widely it is being used remains unresolved. And that has to be proven company by company. The price experiment you can't see does not prove that every retailer knows the most you would pay. It reveals something more basic. A pricing system does not need to know your name to learn from your decision. But once personal data enters the same machine, a test price can become a personal price.